This is Camnet News. Thank you so much for choosing us. My name is Sharon Kalimbola. The top stories on our desk this evening: more by-elections as BOWMAN LUSAMBO, MALANJI lose their seats. Vice President apologizes for misleading Parliament. The Opposition Patriotic Front opposes the realignment of districts. In international news, Sudan's police commander rejects any involvement in the deaths of protesters. And in sports news, FIFA sharpens Zambian goalkeepers.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Once again, thank you for choosing us. The news in detail. A non-governmental organization working to transform youths in Lusaka's Chivolia compound say youths in this area have great potential to venture into productive activities and only need funding. Future Foundation coordinator Clinton Gondo was speaking to Camnet TV during a sensitization meeting with the youths Friday on the dangers of alcohol and substance abuse. Chivolia compound is known for criminal activities such as daylight robbery and rape, which are mainly attributed to the high cases of drug and alcohol abuse. Zipporah Mushala found this report.
Chivolia compound in Lusaka has remained a headache both to residents and authorities due to the high crime rate in this area. Reports of crime range from rape to daylight robbery at knife point by community gangs or lone attackers. While police have tried to control the situation by conducting patrols from time to time, reports have continued. The high levels of crime have been attributed to drug and alcohol abuse by the youth in the area, attributed to peer pressure, poor parenting, and the lack of funds to venture into economic activities, among others. While trying to find solutions to transform the youth in the compound and reduce their crime rates, a non-governmental organization aiming at transforming youth in Chivolia compound says the solution is to empower them as they have great potential for various activities but lack funding. The Future Foundation coordinator, Mr. Clinton Gondo, was speaking during a sensitization meeting with the youth on the dangers of drug and alcohol abuse on Friday.
But the key objective is for everyone to have a livelihood. So we have also a business initiative which we have behind all these social activities, because what we need is to create employment at the end of the day. But before we get into that, before we even tell people to say stop the drugs, we have to create a very friendly relationship with them. They get to trust us, and that will also help us to identify the key needs of the people within the area. We have complex problems in Chivolia, so we are also calling various stakeholders like local NGOs, international NGOs, let it be maybe even these like World Bank, UN systems, the SDGs. We are calling them on board to say let them also target Chivolia.
Meanwhile, Harry Mwangankumbula Ward Councillor Mr. Aaron Mwanza has called on stakeholders to come on board and help the youth to transform.
Most of these, they drop out from school. Most of them, they are also orphans and vulnerable children. And others, they are being abused from homes. And others, they are also coming from child-headed homes. That's why they have resorted into going into drug abuse. And other people, and other children, they are also exposed to see things we can say that can disturb their social perception in terms of mind.
In an interview, the youth have spoken out on drug and alcohol abuse.
I'd like to ask to the government to engage us more into such activities that will help us stay away from these illicit activities.
Okay, so what causes drug and alcohol abuse?
It's merely influence, and sometimes kids just become stressed. That's why I'm rephrasing again. It's how they are raised up in their homes. So if there's no charity in the house, the kid begins to make those negative decisions. But merely it's peer pressure and group influence that causes it.
Anyone, in terms of boxing, I can do. Maybe if I'm an electrician, I can do. You see, then in terms of learning, I say I learn through my essays. So, but in terms of fear, so once but so then footing a kungandanga wa have shoot na bena tabarista provide so manyenga asangwa mu situation of tira twapata kwa bakuwafu wako in terms of batu bikaferi. You can see things changing.
While sensitization is helpful in raising awareness, youths are likely to fall back into harmful patterns if they are not empowered to venture into various economic generating activities. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
A Chinese construction company known as Unique Construction has justified not compensating one of its workers who was injured while on duty in July 2021. Chipipa Chuma, who was employed as a general worker at the company, has been demanding compensation, alleging that the company has not compensated him for the injury, which has rendered him unable to work for the rest of his life. In an interview, company human resource manager Mr. Kangwan Shindano says the reason Mr. Chuma has not been paid compensation is because he did not avail the company with medical forms which indicate the amount needed for his surgery. Zipporah Mshala once again filed this report.
This is one of the construction sites belonging to Unique Construction Engineering, a Chinese-run business dealing in drainages and other construction work. It was in a similar situation like this that an accident allegedly occurred in July 2021, leaving one of the company workers, 27-year-old Chipipa Chuma, with an injured spine after a mound of sand collapsed on him while on a construction site. In an interview, Mr. Chuma said he had not been compensated by the company for his accident, despite various attempts to engage them, adding that doctors had rendered him unable to work for the rest of his life due to the accident. He further said doctors indicated that he would need up to 500,000 kwacha for his surgery.
Una company ngo ikunga but ndine wamene the patient wamene sakwanisa kuenda but ningoenda naona kuti abantu koneka nambo bavuta so na ine nkala muntu jamena mvera kubobaba so kuliba mene nzo chitira so manje nezo pempa kuti government ilanganepo.
The company, however, says it has not left him desolate, as it has continued to pay him his monthly salary until 6 months elapses in accordance with the law. Company Human Resource Manager Mr. Kangwa Shindano has justified the non-payment of compensation to Mr. Chuma, saying it is because he has not given the medical forms to the company, indicating the amount needed for his surgery.
In terms of the salary, he's still our employee and he's still on payroll. We are actually paying him the minimum wage as stipulated by the government. And in addition to that, what is just actually holding on to conclude the workers' compensation and the insurance that we've actually put in place as a company is the fact that it's still holding on to the final medical report that was actually signed by the doctor.
Company Environmental and Safeguard Specialist Mr. Tinashen Duna says the employees are given protective wear and it is their responsibility to counter-check for any potential accidents before venturing underground.
The foreman and the safety person, they check the condition of the site. Okay, after that, they are authorized then to work. Should they, because you know what happens, these some of these trenches, they are not very strong. So should they also continue to execute the work, maybe the safety officer has gone to check the other people on the other side. They have to continue still being cautious and seeing if the condition of the area in which they're working is still safe for them to continue to work. So it could be that on that particular day, the conditions then developed not to be safe, but then they did not recognize that, even after being forewarned that there are these hazards.
However, Labour Commissioner at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Mr. Givens Muntengwa, says Labour Commissioners will be dispatched as the office has received various calls regarding the company. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Patriotic Front member of the Central Committee, Musonda Mpakata, has clarified that the General Conference, which will be held in June 2022, is only for the presidential position. Addressing the media Friday, Mr. Mpagata, who is also Lupo Social Member of Parliament, says the party is convinced beyond reasonable doubt that members of the Central Committee are fit to run the affairs of the party. He says guidelines will be put in place which will guide how all those aspiring for the party presidents will take when applying. Meanwhile, PF Parliamentary Whip Stephen Kampyongo says the party will not hesitate to discipline all those found wanting and disregarding the party hierarchy using the media.
This press conference to address matters concerning the recent occurrences in the Patriotic Front regarding the plans to hold the extraordinary general conference at which we are going to elect, solely to elect the new party president. Because we've heard from the print media, social media, there are calls that there will be election of members of the Central Committee. No. The extraordinary general conference will be solely convened to elect the party president. We've recently heard in both the formal and the social media reports suggesting that there is a serious power struggle in the Patriotic Front over the party presidents and that there is serious division. These reports have been placed at their center stage at many postings in their social media platforms, indicating that members of the Patriotic Front are demanding the holding of a general conference immediately at which a person to take over the reins of the presidency of the party from Dr. Edgar Chagwa should be elected. In a bid to state the party's position, ladies and gentlemen, and offer guidelines to the members of the party, the Central Committee, the highest organ of the party, met on the 13th of November 2021, at which resolutions were passed.
We're going to sit back as members of Parliament and allow disgruntled elements to dent the picture of the party and give signs of the party being disorganized. Here are elected members, and we have a large number of our council chairpersons and mayors, councillors, who are elected on Patriotic Front ticket. But I must also say that we are, these members you see have been appearing in the courts of law defending their seats against the petitions that were petitioned mainly by UPND losing candidates. We are happy that most of the cases have been disposed of.
Chama North Member of Parliament Yota Mutachalo and his counterpart from Chama South is opposed to President Hakainde Hichilema's announcement over his intentions to realign Chama district among other districts to other provinces. Addressing the media Friday, Mr. Mutachalo notes that the proposal by the head of state was not consultative, calling on him to start the process once again. Mr. Mutachalo notes that Chama is better placed in Muchinga province, which has better prospects of developing the district. He adds that Eastern Province, which President Hichilema intends to realign Chama, is already congested with 14 districts, which he says another one will slow the development prospects of the district. Meanwhile, Chama South Member of Parliament Davison Mongandu says some traditional leaders in the district say they were not consulted in this process, which makes it dictatorial in a way. On the 17th of November 2021, President Hakainde Hichilema announced his intentions to realign Chama district in line with the Provincial and District Act, Chapter 286 of the laws of Zambia, which makes the provisions for the division republic into provinces and districts.
We are totally opposed to this decision to take Chama back to Eastern Province. We were in Eastern Province since independence 1964. We never received any meaningful development from Eastern Province. Development was centered in Chipata and the Petauka area. You see, the Chama-Rundas Road, which connects Chama to Rundas, the people of Chama cried, even when at the time when this government had a lot of money in the treasury, they denied us a Chama road from Rundas up to Chama. Money was allocated, but everything was diverted. Now, why do they want us to go back to Eastern Province? Eastern Province has got 14 districts at the moment. It's congested. You see, Muchinga has only 9 districts. It means if we are taken back to Eastern Province, we shall be the number 15 district in Eastern Province. Surely, do we expect the people of Chama to receive a fair share of the national debt?
Representatives of the people, we've been petitioned by almost everyone in Chama that we appeal on their behalf to His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema to re-engage the process of consultation. So that is our position, that the President should restart or re-engage the people on this decision, as the people are not in agreement with the decision to be taken back to Eastern Province.
Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has named permanent secretaries for line ministries and provinces. The President has also appointed State House Special Assistant for Policy Compliance, Special Assistant for Legal, as well as Economic Advisor. And speaking shortly after the swearing-in ceremony, President Hichilema has urged the newly appointed permanent secretaries to bring sanity to line ministries they have been appointed to serve under. The President says all appointments were a careful selection process to allow citizens of Zambia to serve their people in their homeland.
The long-awaited list of the appointed and named permanent secretaries for the line ministries and provinces, State House Special Assistants to the President, has been unveiled to the public Friday, November 19, 2021. Notable appointed are Professor Lakson Kasonka, who was appointed as Health Permanent Secretary and Technical Services, Ms. Noriana Munenku as new Permanent Secretary for Minister of Education, and Mr. Chileshe Kangwa as Youth and Sports Permanent Secretary, among others. During the swearing-in ceremony at State House, President Hakainde Hichilema has challenged newly appointed permanent secretaries to rewrite the narrative in the way government does business.
But that goes for all of you here. Just check who is seated next to you. You will see the diversity which reflects this nation. And that too is one of the reasons we take time, necessary time, to identify diversified talent, our own fellow citizens from different corners of the country. Check around, we're sitting next to you. The country expects a lot from you. Where you fall short, someone seated next to you will carry on, will assist. I'm talking about consultations, I'm talking about teamwork. Yes, I'm talking about change. Quite a paradox. The past way of running public affairs will not continue. Taking what belongs to people.
The President stressed on the need for the senior officials to demonstrate a selfless and servant approach to leading the people of Zambia.
3 areas, broad areas, everything else falls in these areas. We deal with these areas, 3 areas: reining on the debt, reining on public expenditure, excessive, extravagance, corruption, sits in all the then growth activities. Then we can deliver health services, we can extend education for all from where we are now, first budget, primary to secondary, we can extend it beyond. Then we can create jobs. We can create business opportunities. It's not a lecture. This is not a lecture. This is to show you the connection why in your ministry you have to wake up every morning and say, what am I doing to control expenditure?
With this development, one can only hope that issues which were pending due to vacancy in these positions will be addressed. Alex Shimba, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Vice President Mutalina Lumango has apologized to the National Assembly for suggesting that the case involving former Defense Minister Davis Chama is not bailable when justifying why Mr. Chama has not been granted police bond over a case of attempted murder. This happened when she was responding to a question from the leader of the opposition in the House, Brian Mundubile, who wanted to know why Davis Chama was not given police bond. However, the Vice President, who had earlier suggested that Mr. Chama remained in police custody because the offence of attempted murder is not bailable, apologized for misleading the House. She explains that Mr. Chama was detained owing to the fact that police needed to re-establish the crime scene where the incident happened and hope that the situation will be normalized.
Friday, 19th August 2021, during the Vice President question time, a number of issues were raised and some of the questions were just being emphasized. Patriotic Front Shwangando Member of Parliament Stephen Kampyongo wanted to know when is President Hakainde Hichilema going to State House, saying the situation where he continues to occupy Community House goes against the principle of cost effectiveness and it is unsustainable.
Regardless of which side you are coming from, we would like to know what the government is doing to ensure that His Excellency, just like the previous presidents who have used the same official residence, can move into that official residence.
And in response, the Vice President said the government has no money to rehabilitate State House, adding that the President will only shift once the house is worked on.
Government at the moment still believes that the President needs to be in State House as every other. But as at now, there are no resources to work on that house. We need to work on the State House, and as soon as it is brought to a standard that he can also occupy, he will shift.
Meanwhile, leader of the opposition in the House, Brian Mundubile, wanted to know why Davis Chama, the former defense minister, was not given a police bond.
He told the Zambian people that no one will be detained for more than 48 hours if they are facing offences that are bondable. Madam Speaker, the Zambian people take the President for his word, because he is a man of his words. Your Honourable Vice President, my question is, why has the Inspector General of Police continued to embarrass the Commander-in-Chief of Defence Forces by continuing to detain people for prolonged periods?
Honorable Mr. Chama has been arrested for what is being called, I believe, attempted murder, which is unbailable.
No.
And yes, that is what I know as at now. I'm sure the council would argue his point, but this is what I know as I stand here, and therefore it would be difficult for him to be released under such circumstances. But we will endeavor to follow the law all the time.
However, the Vice President, who had earlier suggested that Mr. Chama remained in police custody because the offense of attempted murder is not bailable, apologized for misleading the House.
And Madam Speaker, allow me to use this opportunity to apologize to the House. I am not ashamed when I'm wrong to say sorry, because when the Honorable Leader of Opposition asked about the case of Honorable Chama, I said the case was not bailable. I've been informed by the learned that actually the case is bailable. Yes, I apologize to the House and to the nation. Except I've also been informed in here that the case has taken a little long because of the scanning of the what you call scene of crime.
Meanwhile, Ms. Nalumango urged law enforcement wings to take a keen interest on people's concerns on the need to tackle corruption committed by the past regime.
Wings of government must be concerned with the concern of the general public, that they quickly follow up the cases that they need to, and then we follow through the pronouncement of the President. They will surely, Honorable, be prosecuted.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
The court has, with immediate effect, nullified elections of BOWMAN LUSAMBO as Kawoshi Member of Parliament and Joe MALANJI as Kwacha Member of Parliament, citing electoral malpractices. In this matter, the two lawmakers' elections were separately petitioned in the High Court by the United Party for National Development, losing candidates, citing malpractices, bribery, among others. Meanwhile, the Lusaka High Court has dismissed the petition which was seeking the nullification of the election for Matero Member of Parliament Mao Samba and Mandevu Member of Parliament Christopher Shakafuswa. Further, the Lusaka High Court has declared Tasila Lungu validly won the 12th August Chawama parliamentary seat.
Friday, the 19th of November 2021, can be described as a day of both excitement and disappointment for some former Patriotic Front members of Parliament whose elections have been nullified by the courts. Mr. Joseph Malanji and BOWMAN LUSAMBO's elections have not been spared, as the court this afternoon decided to nullify the elections, citing malpractices and other things that the petitioner had cited. Mr. Malanji's elections were being petitioned before the Lusaka High Court, and the judge this afternoon nullified his election as Kwacha Member of Parliament, citing that he had issues with ECZ as he did not have a grade 12 certificate to qualify as a Member of Parliament.
Of course, the court has erred in its ruling for this matter, because the contention of eligibility period was long gone. That is supposed to be 14 days from the date of filing in nominations, and that did not happen. What we went to court for was the alleged violence during the elections, and that is what we were geared for.
On the other hand, Mr. Lusambo also joined the shoes of Mr. Malanji. The Ndola High Court also nullified his election as Kabushi Member of Parliament, citing electoral malpractices.
And I can assure you that as we go, there are other lessons which we learn. And we have learned something, both from our political opponents and also from the judiciary. But I can assure you that as a law-abiding citizen, I respect the judiciary. I know exactly the importance of the judiciary in our country. So we have learned a lot. We have learned a lot.
However, Patriotic Front Matero Member of Parliament Mao Sampa and Mandevu Member of Parliament Christopher Shakafuswa did not share the same sorrow with the two, as the High Court ruled that they were duly elected.
I told myself if I lost this petition, I wasn't even going to pursue it to Concord. I would have given up. It would have meant God wasn't meant for me to be in Matero. But as it is, all the allegations, all of them, I think there were 5, they've been found they were not proved. And it's time to work. It's been difficult to even go in Matero. I heard the respondent in there saying in there was Isasira. I must say, from the voting day, I live in fear.
Meanwhile, the Chawama lawmaker Tasila Lungu has also joined the line, that of Mr. Shakafuswa and Sampa, in celebrating their victory after the court declared that they were duly elected as members of parliament. Earlier, when the court dismissed the petition of the Matero constituency, the UPND expressed disappointment, including their losing candidate Tom Mijelo, who had petitioned Mr. Sampa.
The petitions were presented before the courts. We have evidence. There's no way we can come and present a petition without evidence. And we're hoping that this which have remained, justice should be done properly. We have a lot of evidence. We can't. Even Matero had a lot of evidence.
Miriam Kemba reporting for Camnet TV News.
We apologize for that break in transmission. However, we are here. The state has entered Enole in a matter in which 4 Lusaka residents, among them a female student, are accused of murdering a veterinary doctor, Evans Mwengwe, after he gave them a lift from Lusaka to Kabwe. In this matter, Kenani Jerry, 23, a businessman, Kigan Zulu, 38, also a businessman, and Doris Ndumba, 23, a student, and Josat Temba, 42, of a mechanic, were facing 1 count of murder and aggravated robbery. However, the 4 were re-arrested shortly after the case was discontinued, and they are currently in Lusaka Central Police Station. Miriam Kaimba once again found this report from court.
Friday morning surprised the Lusaka High Court when they entered the Nole Prosequi in the matter in which 4 people were accused of killing a veterinary doctor, Evans Mwengwe, in June this year. This was in a matter in which Kenan Jerry, 23, a businessman, Kigan Zulu, 38, a businessman, Doris Ndumba, 23, a female student, and Joseph Tembo, 42, a mechanic, were alleged to have murdered the deceased between the 10th and 12th of June 2021. When the 4 appeared before the Lusaka High Court this morning for continued trial, the state discontinued their case. However, the 4 were rearrested shortly after the state discharged them from the case. Dr. Mwengwe reportedly went missing as he traveled from Kawe to Lusaka of the evening of the 10th of June 2021. His body was discovered 2 days later, partially burnt. The 4 accused persons were said to have allegedly attacked and killed him after he offered them a lift from Kawe and got away with his motor vehicle and other items. Meanwhile, the accused persons are currently detained at Lusaka Central Police Station. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
This is Camnet News. Let's take our first set of commercials. When we return, we have more interesting stories. Stay with us.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the...
She has so much data.
Mom?
Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
This is the Rusitu Irrigation Project. It's a government project funded by the World Bank through IDSP.
The project involved laying over 18 kilometers worth of interlinked water pipes that will supply water to the 280 hectares land for small-scale and commercial farmers in Lusitu of Chirundu district. We worked on 35 kilometers of the road network and also constructed 159 concrete water hydrants of different sizes in all 3 tiers. The state-of-the-art water pumping station at the banks of the Zambezi is fitted with 9 water pumps, a dedicated concrete reservoir, a 500 kV automated standby generator, a fully automated pump switching system that is interlinked with a second reservoir of 27,000 cubic liters capacity, which is fitted with 7 water pumps, a standby generator and floater tanks for that extra water pressure on the irrigation lines. Savenda Construction is grateful to the Zambian government and the World Bank for giving us the opportunity to be part of the history of Lesotho, as the project will benefit over 282 households once completed, and is just one of the many that Savenda Construction has embarked on, owing to its track record and capacity to deliver as per requirement. Savenda, save nations, develop Africa.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. A social scientist, Innocent Kolala, has called for the revision of the Constituency Development Fund Act No. 2 of 2018, which gives powers to the members of parliament to constitute Constituency Development Committee. Mr. Kolala says opposition political parties will use the authority given to them to frustrate the implementation of the 25.7 million kwacha Constituency Development Fund government as announced will be given to each constituency. Mr. Kolala says there is need for government to engage experts from ministries to be part of the constituency development committees in order to ensure transparency is reached on how CDF is used. Details in this report.
The increase in the Constituency Development Fund allocation from 1.6 million kwacha to 25.7 million kwacha per constituency in the 2022 national budget has continued to attract different reactions from stakeholders. While others have welcomed the move, others, such as the opposition Patriotic Front, have condemned the move, calling it a hoax meant to bring confusion in the country. But a social scientist, Innocent Kolala, says the move is commendable, but says there is need to revise the Constituency Development Fund Act No. 2 of 2018, which gives power to a member of parliament to appoint who will constitute the CDF committee. Mr. Kolala was speaking when he appeared on the breakfast show on Camnet TV Friday morning.
But these people from the local authority, they will have no voice to make a decision. Meaning, there will be only 2 people outside those who have been appointed by a member of parliament who have a voice, maybe a different voice, those who are nominated by the traditional leaders. But the rest are being appointed by a member of parliament.
And according to Mr. Kolala, giving so much power to a member of parliament will open a leeway for the opposition to use it to frustrate the ruling government, as opposition political parties in Zambia are full of attacks than providing solutions.
And he has sent this 25.7 million in this constituency, for example, which is dominated by an opposition. And by nature of an opposition, especially in Africa, you know, nature of an opposition is fighting, is to frustrate the efforts of the ruling government, which is very, very unfortunate, because opposition is supposed to be seen as working in collaboration with the ruling political party, because an opposition political party is a government in waiting.
It has since advised the government to revise the law and ensure that government officials from different ministries be part of the CDF committee to ensure transparency and accountability.
If, for example, the activities which Ministry of Health were supposed to be undertaking, you have taken to the Constituency Development Committee. Then those which were supposed to be undertaken by education, by the community, and these other agriculture have been taken to this. Why not allow the experts from these ministries to be part and parcel of this Constituency Development Committee? And that can only be done, my sisters, when, for example, we amend the Constituency Development Committee Fund, the Constituency Committee Fund Act No. 2 of the year 2018.
While the government has ambitions of transforming the country through decentralization, much still needs to be done to ensure that the right people are put in the forefront of driving the government's ambitions. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Lusaka Mayor Chilando Chitangala has told Camnet TV that financial constraints have hampered the local authorities' aspirations to upgrade the slums in Lusaka. Mesisi, John Leng and Chivolia compounds were among cities earmarked for upgrading, although nothing has been done so far. And The Lusaka mayor says the local authority remains committed to uplifting the livelihoods of the people.
Upgrading is one of the priorities for the government, but all that needs money. But with our decentralization going on, and you know that a council itself, we cannot afford to do slum upgrading on our own. We have to work with central government. But that is something that we look forward to in the future. Yeah, Chibolia and Pesisi, Misisi is one of them. But this is something that we are also hoping that the government can look into, because it needs a lot of funding from the government. Thank you.
Youth Employment Creation Initiative says there is need to supplement government's effort in creating employment opportunities for the young people and women. Speaking at a media briefing held in Lusaka Friday, YECI Executive Director Grandson Shipangula says government has shown support towards the youth and women in its 2022 national budget, but that the budget alone is not enough to position the youth to benefit from the empowerment programs. Mr. Shipangula says his organization will be training youths and women in entrepreneurship skills to ensure they are well positioned to receive the funding from government.
Equity has become almost a mantra, especially for the Republican president. We are thus assured by the domestication of this word in the government vocabulary, documents and daily language. We only hope and trust that it will be translated into reality and give everyone what they need to excel, especially the youth and women. YESI and DTY couldn't derive much and infer to the foregoing than has been adduced and shared. Our extrapolation of the details remain our tools towards our making what government's intentions be achievable through our own programming beyond our analysis and immediate plans anchoring on the environment precipitated.
The Examinations Council of Zambia has expressed disappointment at the information that a named pastor of a known church in Kitwe district of Copperbelt province has been administering a fake grade 7 composite examination to learners at True Vine Community School. ECZ Public Relations Manager Nicholas Nkoa says the council condemns such acts and irregularities. Mr. Nkoa has since cautioned all schools to strictly adhere to the provisions in the guidelines for the administration and management of examinations in Zambia.
He changed the paper on the first page and photocopied and wrote it at 2020.
We have received with disappointment information that a named pastor of a known church in Kitwe district of the Copperbelt province was administering a fake grade 7 composite examination to learners at a school called True Vine Community School. As ECZ, we condemn such acts and indeed any other irregularities, and we will work with all stakeholders to ensure that perpetrators of the scandal are brought to book. We wish to caution all schools to strictly adhere to the provisions in the guidelines for the administration and management of examinations in Zambia. In the conduct of all assessments, we commend the Kitwe District Education Board Secretary for the swift action in unearthing the scandal, and further we assure the nation of our commitment to conduct examinations of comparable international standards.
Chipata District Commissioner Elida Banda says more than 200 villages in Chipata District are practicing open defecation. Mrs. Banda says government has increased its budget allocation to water supply and sanitation sector in order to address the sanitation inequalities. She says 291 villages are practicing open defecation, while 183 were declared open defecation free as of the third quarter of 2021. Mrs. Banda says government will effectively continue to prioritize investment to the poorest communities so that efforts targeted at systematically eliminating parentification from society are achieved. This is contained in a speech read on her behalf by Chipata City Council Director for Public Health, Donald Mwanza, during the commemoration of the World Toilet Day held at Chipata Primary School. In other news, Petaoke District Commissioner Martha Molenga has urged political leaders and civil servants in the area to discard any misunderstandings that might have brought differences before, during, and after the August 12th general election. Mrs. Molenga emphasized the need for both political leaders and civil servants to work in a unitary manner in order to actualize the strategic development goals. She was speaking yesterday when she met leaders from the ruling United Party for National Development and civil servants at the council chamber in Petaoke. The district commissioner used the opportunity during her introduction following her appointments as head of the civil service in Petaoke district.
Get me very clear, politics is over. It is now time for us to forge ahead into development. Today onwards, we need to enhance development in Petaoke district. Because what the president is expecting is to deliver his campaign messages. For him to deliver the campaign messages, it is you as technocrats. It is you as head of departments. You are the implementers of the projects. You were supporting a political party at that time, but this time government has changed. Immediately you need to switch on to the new government. Deliver together for the benefit of the person down there. Let's put ourselves behind. Let's put the people in front, because we are there to service the people of Petaoke.
On behalf of possible servants, technocracy, Madam, I want to affirm you that we will grant you 100% total support. We will make sure that we deliver. All what we learned in school, we will make sure that we deliver to the community, so that at least when we go some of us to our places, we leave Petaoke better than we have found it.
You're still watching Camnet News. We take another set of commercials. When we return, we have sports and international news. Stay with us.
Spirit of infirmity never had a legal right in here anymore because she was healed in her soul. He also took care of that accusation in the court where he said, I loose you, and that means to acquit someone of a crime.
Why does he say, be strong and be courageous, Mamutale? Number one, you've got to be strong. You've got to be courageous when claiming the things that belong to you.
If you're up against principalities and powers,
en contra de
and Satan is
principados
knocking you around,
y el enemigo te está dando contra ti,
put praise on in your car.
pon alabanza.
Put praise on.
So we must learn to depend on the Holy Spirit to tell us what these things are and what's the next thing and what the church ought to be doing, rather than conform to everything that is going on.
He says you're blessed. He says flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father.
He will preach the gospel with great power and influence, I say, even to the nations of the earth. And I began to prophesy his destiny. As I did that, the Spirit of the Lord said, now rebuke the spirit of depression.
The mystery of your unfulfilled prophecy is found in what I'm saying today, if you hear what the Spirit is saying, because the King is speaking.
That everything that God has given you will flourish because you have his mind like never before, in Jesus' mighty precious name.
This is the Rusitu irrigation project. It's a government project funded by the World Bank through IDSP.
The project involved laying over 18 kilometers worth of interlinked water pipes that will supply water to the 280 hectares land for small-scale and commercial farmers in Lusitu of Chirundu district. We worked on 35 kilometers of the road network and also constructed 159 concrete water hydrants of different sizes in all 3 tiers. The state-of-the-art water pumping station at the banks of the Zambezi is fitted with 9 water pumps, a dedicated concrete reservoir, a 500 kV automated standby generator, a fully automated pump switching system that is interlinked with a second reservoir of 27,000 cubic liters capacity, which is fitted with 7 water pumps, a standby generator and floater tanks for that extra water pressure on the irrigation lines. Savenda Construction is grateful to the Zambian government and the World Bank for giving us the opportunity to be part of the history of Lusitu, as the project will benefit over 282 households once completed, and is just one of the many that Savenda Construction has embarked on, owing to its track record and capacity to deliver as per requirement. Savenda, save nations, develop Africa.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. In international news, Sudan's police chief on Thursday defended his security forces, saying they use only legal means to contain anti-coup protests. The Sudanese have been taking to the streets in masses since last month military takeover, which upended the country's fragile transition to democracy. Speaking in Khartoum, Lieutenant General Zain al-Abidine Othman said infiltrators and saboteurs were behind the violence, which has led to recent killings of at least 15 people after officers fired live rounds during demonstrations on Thursday. The Sudanese have been taken to the streets in masses since last month. Here's a roundup of international stories.
Sudanese police held a press conference in the capital Khartoum a day after 15 protesters were killed in the bloodiest violence since the country's October 25 coup. The director of Khartoum State Police on Thursday defended security forces against accusations that they had used violent methods to contain protests against Sudanese military coup. There was unjustified violence during the event of November 13. During this event, there were assaults of police and even we were surprised. The Sudanese have been taken to the streets in masses since last month's military takeover, which has threatened the country's fragile transition to democracy. We're not accusing any side because our investigations are still ongoing until now. Our investigation itself is concerned with the source of information. It is important for us to identify each Sudanese national who died. Protest leaders in Sudan have repeatedly called on demonstrators to abide by non-violent tactics in their attempt to out the coup. Wednesday's fatalities occurred in mostly Khartoum's district in Bari and the Sudanese capital twin city of Omdurman, according to Sudan Doctors Committee. The deaths brought the overall death toll since the coup to at least 39. Britain's Prince Charles met Egypt's president and the head of Sunni Islam's prestigious Al-Azhar institution Thursday in Cairo on a mission centered on the interfaith coexistence and the battle against climate change. Charles, accompanied by his wife Camilla, held talks with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The royal couple flew in from Jordan for a 2-day visit on the second leg of a regional tour. Following COP26 that wound up in the Scottish city of Glasgow this month, Egypt is to host the next round of UN Climate Summit in its Red Sea resort, Sharm el-Sheikh, next year.
Ahmed Nyongera is a Burundian lawyer and activist. He's been living in exile in Belgium since 2014. Burundian authorities condemned him to life in prison for defending its opponents. Reacting to the US's lifting of sanctions against the country, Nyongera said the decision came too soon.
We see a continuous regression.
human rights violations. And we also see many cases of forced disappearances, many cases of torture, many cases of assassinations. There's been no end to this. Niyongere campaigns against torture in Burundi. He says his organization has documented over 600 cases of extrajudicial killings during the current president's term. A country that's under investigation by the ICC, but there are countries that think they can collaborate with this country. It's grave and it's nonsense. What surprises us is that this presumption of cooperation is not conditional on the respect of human rights. Whereas when sanctions were imposed, they were imposed because there were violations. So the lifting of sanctions should also be conditional on respect for human rights. Burundi had faced international isolation during late President Pierre Nkurunziza's rule, but it began opening up after the election last year of Evariste Ndayishimiye. While lifting the sanctions, the US said the transfer of power had decreased violence and taken steps towards reforms. In 2015, President Nkurunziza had sought a controversial third term, plunging Bujumbura into a serious political crisis.
Well, that's it for international news. We now look at sports news. Participants in the first ever FIFA goalkeeper coaching course have expressed gratitude for the opportunity. They are hopeful that the training will help to equip them for tougher challenges in the football fraternity. Goalkeeper and coach Yusuf Lumu from Napsa Stars says this move will be advantageous to local goalkeepers.
Very high expectation of this course because this is the first time that we are attending a FIFA goalkeeping course in Zambia. It's been long overdue since there was any kind of goalkeeper course in Zambia. So my expectations are very, very high. We're going to learn a lot from here. I think when we come out from here, we'll be different coaches. No, they are very, very important courses because as you can see, even on the national level, our goalkeepers are not doing fine. So with the coming of this course, I know we're going to learn a lot, and then we're going to know the new trends of goalkeeping. Because, okay, I can give an example like Senegal. They've produced a goalkeeper who's playing in the English Premier League. Us, we only produced goalkeepers who ended up just playing in the PSL, South African League. But this time we want even to take our goalkeepers to play in these high professional leagues.
I have high expectations for this course, considering that this is the first time that FIFA is conducting the FIFA high-profile goalkeepers coaching course. Because of late, we've been relying on the skills that we've been using as goalkeepers the time we're playing, and it's the same information that we're using to train our goalkeepers and also impacting those knowledges in them. But with this course, I'm sure we will get the high standard knowledge that we will use to train our goalkeepers in our clubs.
Well, that's where we wrap it up for our news this evening. The headlines once again. More by-elections as BOWMAN LUSAMBO and MALANJI lose their seats. Vice President apologizes for misleading Parliament. The Patriotic Front opposes the realignment of districts. In international news, Sudan's police commander rejects any involvement in the deaths of protesters. And in sports news, FIFA sharpens Zambian goalkeepers. We now look at the Camnet verse for the day, and it's coming from 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 3, 17 to 18, and it reads, Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. We all with unveiled faces are looking as in a mirror at the glory of the Lord and are being transformed into the same image from glory to glory. This is from the Lord, who is the Spirit. Well, thank you so much for choosing us. My name is Sharon Kalimbula. Good night and keep watching Camnet TV.